Hello, and welcome to Let the Growth Flow, a spiritual place to heal mind, body, and soul. My name is Alexis, and I will be your host. My hope for this podcast is to help people learn about all things spiritual, at the same time allowing themselves to heal in any way that they need to. I plan to do that by sharing my own spiritual experiences, as well as bringing other spiritual mentors onto the show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let the Growth Flow. Thank you for coming back. I'm so excited for our guest today also. And before we introduce her and go into kind of some announcements, I did want to put a trigger warning on this week's episode. We do touch lightly on topics such as depression, anxiety, suicide, and sexual assault. So again, just touching briefly on these things, not discussing in depth, but did want to put a trigger warning out for anybody listening. So last night, I wanted to talk to you all about my new moon circles that I have monthly. So I host a women's new moon circle once a month called Sisters of the Moon, and we meet virtually and do a meditation that I create specifically for the zodiac sign that this new moon falls in, and an activity or activities for us to complete together to kind of harness the energy of the new moon and the zodiac sign in which the new moon is falling in. So last night was wonderful. I think it has been my favorite meeting so far, and I know I probably will say that about every single one to come, but I am super excited with how they're going and the turnout. So if you would like to be a part of that, again, they are held virtually, so you can join from anywhere in the world. And the next one will be June 10th. So I'm excited for that, and I would love to see some more faces. I also just wanted to plug in that I also do virtual medium readings, virtual reiki sessions, and virtual tarot card readings. If you would like to book a session with me, you can do so on my website at alexiseastintuitivehealing.com, or you can find me on Instagram at alexiseasthealing, and all the links to sign up for any of those offerings are on my Instagram as well. So I wanted to pull a card for you all today, and I am using Colette Baron Reed's The Spirit Animal Oracle deck again. And this was the first deck that I was ever felt truly drawn to, and it just feels like the deck that I want to draw from for you guys right now. I do have other card decks, so I hope to rotate through them eventually, but today I pulled the card Porcupine Spirit, Time for Beginner's Mind. So initially reading that, I feel like this card is going to be about keeping a beginner's mindset and looking at everything with a new energy and new light, so we're not getting sick of anything. So I'm going to go ahead and find it in the book and read you the actual meaning. When Porcupine Spirit calls your name, you are being asked to adopt a beginner's mind and to approach situations with innocence and curiosity. Love that. The old confining stories no longer have a hold on you. Life is full of surprises hiding in plain sight. Looking at the world afresh with new eyes can help you find what you have been seeking, whether it is a relationship, an opportunity, or evidence that you have all you need right now to co-create what you desire. Porcupine asks you to be playful and have a childlike curiosity. There's so much waiting for you that you have yet to discover. I love that. Definitely reminding us to stay playful and not to lose sight of why we started doing something in the first place. Now, without further ado, I am here to introduce our guest for this week. With me, I have Tracy Kyler today, Transformational Life Coach. Tracy is a wonderful psychic medium and Reiki practitioner from Omaha, Nebraska, who uses her gifts to help coach people through their lives and transform their lives into the life that they want to have. So Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Tracy, I like to always start with your why. So, what brought you to being a transformational life coach through psychic mediumship and why you're passionate about it?
Wow. Big, huge question. It started in my teens. I was a very depressed kid. Growing up, I had every nervous twitch, anxiety. I'd cry at the drop of a hat. I could feel everybody's emotions. I could see angels. I could hear angels, but you just kind of stuff it down and you're like, I don't know what this is. And my mom, when she passed away, I found a cookie jar and she had written notes about each of us kids. And it said in there, I remember when Tracy was younger, she used to cry when I'd yell at all the other kids. And she was always so sensitive. And I've always been told, get a thicker skin, you're too sensitive. Well, I just started to embrace that. But as a teenager, I was very depressed and suicidal. And that was the first time I ever heard God speak in my ear, literally. And then, some things happened in my life. I had a lot of stories to tell, a lot of dysfunction and things happening. But I had a car accident in 2006, a rollover, and I was pinned in the car and I literally died and went to heaven. And the night before that, I was angry with God. And I said to him, I don't believe in you anymore. My life is shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on
You
this.
can cuss. No, you're good.
I don't believe in you. You don't exist. I'm done. I'm done. I was so angry and depressed and in my room crying, just big puffy eyes. And the next day we had a road trip to take to see some friends and my daughter was fighting with me. She didn't want to go. And I'm like, fine, stay home, whatever. My husband and I got in an argument on the way about him putting on his seatbelt, and I wanted him to put on his seatbelt, and he put it on, and he said, "There, you happy?" I said, "Drive away." And within 20 minutes, we were rolling 300 feet into a cornfield.
Wow.
We hit black ice. When it landed, I was unconscious, and then I came to, and he was out of the truck, but I was pinned in the truck, and I just felt my soul leaving. And I literally had one of those experiences that everybody says they have. And my body rose up and I could see my husband and I could hear him. And then I saw Jesus standing in front of me, just as I imagined him. And my mom had passed away, and I was really angry that she died because we just got close. Like we had one of those contentious relationships where I just couldn't do anything right, or I just thought she didn't approve of me, and we just fought all the time. And we just started to work that out, and she died. And I knew she was going to die. I always knew death before it occurred, and it freaked me out. And I knew the week I saw her before that, I knew she was going to die, and I was so sad. And then she died, and I thought it was a curse. And my mom was standing right behind him, and I could see other beings, but I couldn't make out their faces. And all he said to me was, "You have a choice." And I looked at my mom and I heard my husband screaming my name. And I said, "Tell my mom I'll see her again someday, but he needs me." And I was instantly back in my body.
Gosh, I'm covered in chills.
Yeah. And from that day on, I chose to live, and I chose to embrace everything about me, my sensitivity. And when people say you're so sensitive, I say thank you.
Yes.
Because I have realized as I've studied, I started on a mission to study all of who I am. Um, Being a sensitive is a gift, and I was shutting it away for so long. I've always known death. I can help people, when they're crossing over. I met the most amazing mentors. That one of them here in Omaha, Nebraska, she just said to me, her name's Angie Montgomery. I give her a big shout out to her because
Yeah.
until she said the words to me, "You can do what I'm doing." And I'm like, "You're crazy." Like, she's this guru of all. I just love her. She's a sweetheart. And she said, "No, you literally can do what I'm doing." And the next time, I mean, some time passed, and the next time I saw her, she cackled and said, "So what's going on with you?" And I said, "You bitch."
Yeah.
The craziest stuff is happening to me. And she's like, uh-huh, uh-huh. but I started embracing it and I started learning everything I could. But back in my teenage years, the chakras were so something. I heard the word chakras. I picked up my first book and I learned to get through my anxiety using the chakras. So
Wow.
that's why my focus now has been to help people release those things in the lower four chakras so that then they can open up the upper three, which I feel are the more spiritual chakras, the more connected chakras. But until you release that old baggage down below,
Mm-hmm.
in the lower four, and really embrace who you are and love yourself and find out where your roots were and why you feel the way you do and the relationships, it's so much junk. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I call myself glow coach, just because when you finally get rid of it, you really do feel amazing.
And you quite literally have a glow, I've found.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, you do. And I mean, I feel like even anybody along their path, you find that once they're living on purpose and their purpose, there's this
Right.
new glow that people have. And I just love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Mm,
I honestly, Tracy, I had no idea about the car
yeah.
accident until
Yeah.
today. You know, we've talked
Yeah.
before, and
Uh-huh.
I love too that you mentioned you didn't believe in yourself until a mentor told you
Yeah.
you can be doing this too. And I have to add in that you were
Mm,
a mentor to me.
mm,
You were actually the second psychic medium in my life to tell me you were going to be an
mm.
amazing medium. You have no idea. And I was like, shut up. I'm like, you're literally the second person who told me that. There's no way. Like, I just didn't believe it. So, like, there's
Yeah.
so much power in words and
There is.
being a mentor. But I love too that you're talking. No, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you practice Reiki also?
I do.
That's
I
what I thought.
studied,
Because
yeah, I studied under an amazing woman in Colorado. She was the very first shaman. So backing up a little bit, when I decided to start finding out who I am, something told me I needed a retreat, and someone gave me her name. Eliza Stevens is her name, and the I'm gonna mess this up. It was is the women, I'd have to look it up, but her name is Eliza Stevens, Temple of the Womb or something. And I just went there. I had no idea who she was, what she was, she had an amazing salt water bath and Mermaid Temple of the Womb. That's it. Sorry. I always try and make sure I mention my mentors because they're amazing.
absolutely.
And she helped me release so much in 4 days. I lost 15 pounds, like
Wow.
literally off my body,
Around your womb area too, yeah?
everywhere. Like
Wow.
I was so full of inflammation from the stress and the pain that I was holding to. I was a victim of child abuse, sexual abuse, and I was holding on to the anger towards
Mhm.
my mother for not protecting me. So much that she had me in a saltwater pool practicing releasing it, and then I took her Reiki classes, and she told me you've done Reiki 1 and 2 with me. You're not just Reiki 1 certified. You're not Reiki 2 certified, but you can do Reiki 2. And I ran into a lot of people who really didn't believe that I should be practicing that. And it was
Absolutely.
really about my mentor, my shaman, gave me this gift of knowing that I'm ready for it. And I'm not going to let others judge me. I try not to judge other people. And I just read something about judgment and discernment. There's a difference. And discernment is that you can look at something and say, okay, I might think differently, but I'm not going to judge them.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. May not think the same way, but you certainly don't judge someone about their life and their path. And it was amazing. I can't remember. Doreen Virtue, I think, is the book I was just reading about that. So
Beautiful,
I
beautiful.
read all the time.
Yes, yes, I would love to ask you. It's one of my questions. I love how this conversation is just flowing because one of my questions were who you studied under and who were your favorite teachers and mentors,
Yeah,
and you're already
yeah,
mentioning that. But
yeah.
along with that, favorite mentors, favorite teachers, and favorite books, like spiritual
Mm,
growth books.
yeah.
I know you read a lot, so
Oh,
I would
yeah,
love
there's a lot. So when I just started to open up my psychic gifts, I obviously studied it under John Holland, one of the best. Now, I'm not certified by John Holland or anything. I just started taking any free classes I could. And then I started paying for classes. You have to invest in some things. As you probably know, there are some things you have to invest in if you're, but I took every free class I could. And my very first experience with doing what he told me to do in a meditation was to ask the angels, because you're always trying to say, prove it, prove it, prove it. And you don't trust your own intuition. So it was do this beautiful journey and then ask them to show you something you would not know. There's no way you'd know this. And that happened. And the other thing that happened in that meditation journey was I saw my sister who had passed away. And I hadn't heard from her. And it really was stressing me out. And she showed me that she was choosing not to really go into heaven because she just didn't think God would allow her there. And I walked her up these beautiful stairs and I said, God is a loving God. He loves everybody. He's not going to judge you. Just follow me and I'm going to show you the way to heaven. And I did this beautiful journey with her. And then I, came out of my meditation. I'm like, well, that was crazy. Why did I think of that? The very next day, another mentor and Teresa Falk, is a psychic medium here in Omaha. She was totally booked and I was doing like reception things. I was taking appointments for this group here in Omaha that was doing free healings and stuff, and she was booked. I'm like, oh darn. She came in and I said, I haven't met you, but I've been following you. I was hoping I'd get a reading. And she goes, well, maybe something will open up, kid. And sure enough, an appointment. I always mimic her because now we're the wolf and the mermaid doing psychic mediums online. But she said, something will open up, kid. And I went into her office and she said, first thing I got to tell you, I'm sorry, I'm mimicking her because I
No,
can't
go for
so close
it.
to her. She says, your sister's here. She said, thank you for helping her. She never thought it'd be so beautiful in Jesus's arms. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
Got to be kidding me. Because it was the night before that I did this meditation.
Yeah.
Wendy DeRosa is an amazing, she has a ton of workshops on the chakras, on connecting as an empath. I've paid for hers. Mary Robot, she's another one. I mean, there's so many that I've taken online class, and I just got certified with Radley Valentine and Angel Tarot. And that was an online class, and then you get a certification. And I have been studying archangels like crazy and connecting them to the chakras and teaching it in my courses, and I love it. It's so beautiful.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing your mentors. And speaking of your courses, I know you have recently just released a book and a course to go along with your book. So please go
Yeah.
ahead, tell us more about that.
Well, thank you. So as I mentioned, as a teenager, I picked up my very first chakra book. Had no idea, but it helped me to not be anxious at night, sleeping, obviously with the sexual abuse and anxiety in general. And so when you first start to discover who you are and this spiritual path, you're grabbing at everything. I mean, I'm studying crystals and I'm studying Reiki and I'm studying psychic and I'm studying books and oils and then you start to figure out, okay, obviously can't do all this. And my inner voice kept saying, go back to the chakras, go back to the chakras, go back. And I was writing my life story about my car accident, and I was struggling to write my book. I always wanted to write my life story. And my shaman, Eliza Stevens, told me I would be writing and sharing my stories to help other people heal. And I'm very vulnerable. I overly share, of all the difficulties I've gone through. So I wrote the book Glowing Through the Chakras, but I wrote it literally. I was writing about my car accident and I just stopped. And all of a sudden I started typing about the chakras. And next thing I know, I have a book. And so it's Glowing Through the Chakras, and you can get it on Amazon and also my website, which is glowcoachtracy.com. There's a link to it. But then, I do a lot of meditation for myself and my path and where I'm going. This course has just been unfolding. And so I finally got it together where I'm doing a beginners kind of workshop for people that want to learn the chakras. You ever sat in a yoga class and they say, okay, go to your root, and people are like, what the heck is a root?
Yeah, yeah,
Envision the color. So it's kind of beginner towards, and then advances towards the advanced, because I believe that everybody starts to learn about the chakras and then they can utilize it in meditation and yoga and prayer and manifesting for themselves and breathing. And so then I teach all that in this course, and then also introduce some archangels and how to bring them in, protection and manifesting and all kinds of goodies in there. And so I'm doing 6 weeks. It's 4 Sundays and 2 Mondays, because we got the holidays of 4th of July and stuff in there. But I'm starting it June 13th. I'm only taking 25 people, and that's it. And it's going to be a virtual Zoom group class. We'll do some exercises and meditations and teaching people to ground and breathe and connect and set their space and all the good stuff. All the good stuff. So
absolutely. That sounds
yeah,
amazing.
thanks for asking about that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'm,
congrats on launching your
yeah,
book and
yeah,
this course. That's huge. I'm very
yeah.
excited for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I did have another question for you. Being a transformational life coach, I was curious. The premise of my show is to help listeners heal by listening
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
So I'm curious, what is the most common question or reoccurring theme with your clients? And then what guidance can you offer listeners about that?
That's a great one. I was actually just thinking, what's one things I can help listeners? Forgiveness. People just cannot let go of it or love wholly someone that's harmed them, or hurt them in some way. I just went through it. Well, you everybody goes through it at all times, even people who are spiritual. All of a sudden you're having this little twinge of resentment or anger or jealousy or whatever it is, and you have to really come back to center. So I teach this exercise, of like closing your eyes and imagining in your heart pure love, what that would feel like, and then go to jealousy or anger. How's that feel in your heart? Immediately it comes away from your heart, and it's icky and it's thick. And then you breathe back into your heart and you feel that love again. And then you go back out and you do that several times till you know the difference of pure love in your heart. And I always ask Archangel Jophiel, to come in. I just love Archangel Jophiel. And I call Archangel Jophiel she, because it's about pure love and pink and beautiful. And so I just imagine, and I teach near and far, the love, or where the ego gets in the way, and how it distances you from really living in that heart center. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I find too, so often with those things, with the hurt and forgiveness, especially when you experience, I mean, we all have childhood traumas, right? I would like to
Yeah.
say we all have childhood traumas, and no matter how good your life was,
Right.
anytime that you were made to feel less than or emotionally insecure, that's a trauma that you have to heal later in life. And um, the self-worth and the acceptance of love for yourself even and for others is so
Right.
tricky. And I do love that you bring up that feeling of love compared to jealousy. I
Mhm.
just remembered a meditation I learned in college. I actually took a mindfulness and meditation course my senior year, and it was beautiful. One of the meditations we did was imagining the person we love the most in the world, like somebody we have so much compassion and love and we care about, and like they could do no wrong. And then on the flip side, we imagine somebody that we would consider maybe, I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
hate, somebody we like
Yeah.
really despise who's wronged us, and then imagine giving them the same compassion that we give to the person that we love
Right.
unconditionally.
Right.
um that was the
Because we all
first
have
time.
our own stories, right?
Yes, right.
Even when you're
And
meeting with one of the cruelest people, meanest people, I recently had this issue with someone I worked with, and I was so in my own sensitive, intuitive, empathic being that I felt her anger towards me, that I took it so personal. And that's one of the things that I always battle with. I take everything personal.
as an
Um,
empath and
as
psychic
an
medium,
empath,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, And so I had to train to get that off of me, and I forgot to use my own teaching. And so I said, duh. I went back to every time I walk in, before I walk in, I do a cleansing, a clearing, protecting. But also, I heard this recently, you intrude on others as an empath. You're not really absorbing them, you're intruding on their emotions, because you walk around and, yeah, I'm a psychic medium, you don't have permission, and that was one of the hardest things for me to learn when I started doing this. Is, yeah, it's kind of fun, but that's not the purpose of it, right? Like, so
Right.
it was hard for me, because as an empath, you can feel emotions. I used to work at a program. I can't really mention who it is, but
Mm-hmm.
it's an amazing children's organization. And I could feel the emotion every single family and kid I worked with. And people were like, how did you know that the mom was feeling that way? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know. Um, and I would get to the core of a root issue so quickly. um, but we absorb, we feel, and we, like, we all have our own things that we strive
We have
for,
our
but
own shit too.
yeah, our own baggage. And people remind us of it every time, and when you start to get too big for your britches, you're immediately pulled back. Spirit will just say, you have more work to do.
Like I like to say, you get humbled.
Yeah, yeah, you get
Yeah,
humbled real quick.
really quickly. I think last week I was just saying too, the moment I've been this whole last year, I've been doing a lot of quote unquote shadow work, the deeper healing. And um, the moment that I feel like I have accomplished a really big thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did it take me this long to realize this? And then I feel so good for like a week. And then it's like,
Bam,
well,
back.
here's the next thing you need to work on now.
Yeah,
Like you're not
spirit.
done. Like that's why we're here. We're here to
We
heal. And
agreed. Yeah,
um I always say the saying too, hurt people hurt other people, as you were saying
right,
beforehand. And
right.
um I think sometimes too, as I don't want to say just empaths, but like all, especially empaths, it's sometimes difficult to think that way. Um, I guess not think that way because that is how the world works, right? Hurt person closes off, they begin to hurt other people. But a friend and I talk about that often. She's my little soul sister, and we just can start, you talk about being sensitive. I've been told that my whole life to her, and I can just cry about that. We're like, why is everybody so hurt? We just want to help.
So ugly. I had a best friend break my heart last year. It broke my heart. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to recover from. It came out of left field. I know it was just a misunderstanding of words, and my heart was broken. And she just ended it, won't even speak to me,
Mhm.
talk it out, anything. And I thought, like, this was like my soul partner kind of thing. But I quickly realized that no, that relationship was meant to be temporary in my life. It was meant to teach me a few things. And I'm grateful to what I learned. And gratitude is another big one, because with this gift that I now have, I try and teach and always remember to please thank Gaia, Mother Earth, God, whoever you call it. You don't have to call him God. You don't have to call it spirit, whatever you want to call him. It's a connection.
Mhm.
Um, you know, as an empath too, I was saying earlier, I you can't resist it too, because people are naturally drawn to share their story with you, and you find yourself being that person that talks to the one person in the corner at a party, and you're
Mhm.
there all night, and you're like, I didn't get to talk to anybody else because this person dominated my time. You've got to learn to say, I'm sorry or whatever. But I was at the dentist's office, and my dentist is retiring, and they gave me the new dentist, and I think I got a teeth cleaning. And he starts telling me his whole story. And I'm like, what dentist does this? Like, he's like, because he knew what I did, because the
Mhm.
dental hygienist that normally cleans my teeth, I always end up saying, hold on, I got a message for you. And we laugh, and she's like, what else? And I'm like, well, you should be paying for my service. I give her free stuff. But anyway, she told him before I came. So anyway, he says to me, well, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I could really use your services. And boy, it sounds amazing what I do. And at the end, I looked at him and I said, I want you to redo this. And instead of saying, I'm a recovering alcoholic, say, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Be
Mm,
proud of that shit.
yeah.
I made it through this. I have accomplished it. Check it off. I'm strong. And he goes, oh my God, that feels amazing. He goes, yeah, I
Aw.
say it as I'm ashamed. I go, you shouldn't be ashamed. You got a wonderful dentistry. You're an amazing person. You obviously are a very kind man. You got a beautiful family you just told me about. Own that. Own that hurdle that you went over and feel good about it. And that's really what it's about.
It is. And just remembering that that literally is why we're on earth, is to learn and to
Right.
process. Like,
Right.
I think it just blows me away when I'm having so many thoughts right now, so excuse my ramble, but you're talking earlier about judgment and discernment,
Mhm.
and how I like to look at it as in, again, like everybody has their own beliefs, so bear with me, but we live many lifetimes, and to my knowledge, maybe in a past life or in my next life, I'm going to be an alcoholic. So who am I
Right.
to judge anybody who is on that part of their journey? Like, that's what they're here in this lifetime to learn, and learn
Mhm.
skill and how to cope with it, or they don't, and then they repeat it their next lifetime. So I think just giving compassion to everybody is so important. And again, having that discernment where it's like, I don't agree with going out
Right.
to the bar and drinking every night, but
But
I can understand that this person's maybe
yeah.
hurt and going through different things than I've had to go through in my life.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I have had to learn and now that I teach is just because you can have compassion and discernment does not mean you put yourself at risk. And that is so hard because us people pleasers, us helpers, us good doers, we always put ourselves last. And it's okay to be selfish. And that was really hard. My children tell me, Mom, geez Louise, how much more are you going to give to other people? And you're always giving away, you give your shoes away. I just buy a new pair of shoes and someone says, oh, I like them. I'm like, oh, wait here. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
um, but that is also one of the biggest areas of mainly my focus. People that I really help with are women who are just now coming into who am I? Who
Mm.
am I? And answering that question. This weekend I was at a family member's house and their neighbor just started talking to me and I'm then she said, what do you do for a living? I said, well, funny you should ask. And she's like, oh, I could use some of that, so um, women who are, empty nesters, new, younger women like yourself, it was very cool to meet with you because immediately, and I have said this about you to several people, I met one of the strongest spiritual young ladies that I knew. And, I do private coaching too. And I just signed up, 3 young ladies this week that weren't even a focus for me because they are developing their spiritual gifts and are like, where do I go with this? Or how do I do this? And one of them is in that, oh my gosh, this, and this. And it's honing it in and bringing it in and not being so open, right? Like
Setting
when you
boundaries.
yeah, when you learn to set the boundaries and be selfish and take your space, take your time, do what you need to keep yourself healthy, then the rest just kind of happens, right?
Right. Just falls
Yeah,
into place.
yeah. And I love that you took that move. That just feels so right for you. And
Yeah. Yeah, it was
like, yeah, girl,
crazy.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to be
speak.
by the ocean. I'm a mermaid at
Yeah.
heart.
I
So,
know. I was thinking of that when I was reaching out to you for this podcast. I'm like, "Ugh, Tracy needs to come visit me because I
oh,
know she's a little mermaid at heart."
oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's, we're talking all about glowing.
Hmm.
I love all the coincidences, and I don't even want to call them coincidences. Like, it's
No.
alignment of the women I'm meeting out here, and they're just all spiritual. Like today, I'm going to show you, I can tell my listeners, I met a friend out here. She creates handmade goods, like she sews, and I have a drum that I use for myself to meditate. I'm not comfortable with sharing it with others through
Yeah,
meditation
me
yet,
too. I'm
And
like, I can't drum, but I got a drum.
yeah, it makes me feel good.
Yeah, right.
It makes me get into a deeper state of meditation. But
Right.
I went to drop my drum off for her to make like a little carrying bag for me to take it to the ocean and whatnot, or the beach. And she gives me a little essential oil roller, and
Rose petals in there.
yeah, it has rose petals and something else in there with a little note that says, dreaming the future and to keep mind, body, spirit lifted on this beautiful journey ahead.
Yeah.
Like just the coincidences, and like I just can't help but glow. And my favorite new compliment here is, wow, you're just glowing.
I know.
Literally
Great,
glowing through the chakras.
Glowing through the chakras. Yeah. People are like, why are you insisting on that, Tyler? Because I feel like I'm glowing, and I feel listen, I was never happy. I was never happy with myself. Um I was told, oh, you've always had a beautiful face, and they're like, well, what's that supposed to mean? Because I'm heavier.
You're like,
Yeah,
double flipping them off.
double flipping them off, because it's like, well, you just really helped my self-esteem when you said that, because I actually used to look anorexic. I was so skinny as a kid, and then people are like, oh, you're so skinny. And then I learned to eat my emotions, and then I got my heaviest. And last year I made it a mission, okay, now that you're doing this, okay, now start working on your weight. I lost 30 pounds last year. So it's
Congrats.
like, I'm going to keep going at my pace. I'm learning, I'm reading, you asked me who I learned. Dr. Livingood is an amazing person to listen to about the things we're putting in our mouth, and the toxins and stuff. And not all spiritual people are on this vegetarian care. I love a good steak. I'm from Nebraska. Steak, but you can eat grass fed. My husband hates me for saying that, but I have learned to love grass fed beef. But another one I wanted to tell you about was one of my very first books. Darity Wesley has this amazing book, so you can get them on Amazon. One is called You Can Transform Your Life.
Tracy, look at this.
Oh, stop. You have it. Isn't that an amazing book?
And guess why I got it? I haven't even read it yet. I got it from the time that you did a practice Reiki session with me, and you told me, you're like, this book, and I got it. And it keeps popping up in the last 2 weeks, and I almost gave it to a friend, and I'm like, actually, give me that back. I need that in my life.
I'll buy you one. Yeah. How to be the real you, and you can transform your life. I haven't read fully You Can Transform Your Life, but cover to cover, How to Be the Real You. It's very inexpensive on Amazon. I've got it all marked up. It was one of the best books I've read to really discover who I was, and who I am, and whom I'm becoming. But that is one of my very favorite books. And so there's so many mentors. I take any free, I'm one of those suckers. I'll sign up here, and then you have to block the email because they send you a ton. I just finished a business program, but I studied a business course of how to set up my website and how to do this and how to do that. I actually have a link on my Facebook page, because I get a little kickback if anybody, so if they want to do a business program and set up their own business, and it teaches so many things. But referrals, and telling people about different, people that they've experienced, their mentors. There's so much free stuff out there. Take as many free courses as you can if you don't want to invest financially.
Yeah.
Take some of the freebies. You learn so much.
Honestly, that's a good tip for myself right now. I'm kind of, as you know, in that very beginning stage, and I am craving knowledge right now and learning. I actually am manifesting right now for a medium mentor, I guess I can call it, because I feel like I've gone as far as I can on my own, and I'm just like wanting more practice and knowledge. So I don't know why I never thought to look up like free classes or like anything that's offered for free. But I do think everything is an investment in yourself. So it's like you say, like you pay for a class, you're investing, you're learning, and then you better yourself, and then you better your business. You are able to heal in better ways and help the collective more through that investment. So I thank you so much for sharing those for me and my listeners. I have one final question for you, and that's any words of advice for anybody starting
Yeah.
their spiritual path.
Mhm. Well, as you were talking, I actually was going to say to you, I appreciate you putting me on your podcast. I'd love for you to complimentary join my chakra program if you'd love to do that, and I can send you the link. And I always, I'm a believer in quid pro quo, and just giving back to someone who has enlightened me or helped me. And so I'll send you that link, and I'll make sure
Wow,
that if
thank you.
you can join any of them. And it's a fun evening one. So I did it in the evening, but you're Pacific time and I'm Central time, so that might be a little problem, but I can record them for you too. But there's tons of mentors out there that would love to work with you, and I'm one of them. So anytime you would love to, go through something, I'm there. I just
Woo
love,
woo. I'm over here doing
yeah,
a happy dance. I'm
yeah,
like, look,
yeah.
putting it out into the universe and
um,
receiving.
yeah, I wanted to tell you, you had mentioned manifesting. I mentioned my daughter's wedding. So I wanted money to pay for her wedding so that I could spend the remaining of my year just doing my business that I love. Because financially, when I sold my restaurant, I set myself up financially so I didn't have to worry about it. Um, but my daughter's getting married, and I just didn't want to worry about it. So I sat one night and I just manifested, give me a part-time job that pays enough that I can make enough money for my daughter's wedding in a little time. And poof, a friend calls me literally within the week and says, "Hey, there's this place that I work at. They're looking for a part-time person just during the tax season. And this is the, so I went in, I told them the salary. I literally have made exactly the amount that I wanted to put towards her wedding. And I've signed up, 3 personal coaching clients this week, so that it just rolls. It just
It falls into
happens.
alignment.
And so
Yeah.
the best advice I have for that is learn how to release, learn how to let go of the fear that holds you back from really taking that leap of faith. I just told a lady the other day, start writing down your bucket list, but it doesn't have to be, I actually went balloon riding last year. It was on my bucket list, but I don't think I'd ever do it again. It wasn't that fun. I didn't enjoy it.
But you
It
did
wasn't
it. You
like,
didn't let the
yeah,
fear keep you from doing
yeah.
it.
It wasn't this, oh, up in the sky kind of thing. It was like, well, this air balloon is hot and my husband is uncomfortable and he's a big man and we're cramped in this little basket. And the guy was like, a little scary. We had a crash landing a little bit, but
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
yeah, I'd probably not do that again. But really is, don't hold back. Like, find out who you are. Go back to your roots of, we all live this life where we start when you have kids, it's for you, you put yourself last, and when you get married you start doing different things and you forget who I am. So mine is dance, and I love to move the heart chakra now by just moving. And I've always been, I people would say Tracy Kyler to the dance floor because I get it started, at a
Yeah.
good wedding or a party, and I just quit dancing and my body quit moving the way that I wanted it to. And so my thing is I love music. I love any kind of music. I can move to any music. And so I've been listening to music more. And that helps me discover my happy place and where I feel. So go back to figuring out who you are and what you love, and don't let fear stop you. And
Mm.
don't let the ego get in the way of saying, oh, well, you can't do that. I'm a big woman and I will dance on that dance floor and I don't care what I look like. And I get it,
Yes,
girl.
queen.
I get it. And my children dance. This weekend, my son was dancing with his little 1.5-year-old to Footloose, and he was spinning her around, and he put her up on the counter so she was his height, and she was giggling and laughing. And I'm like, yes, there it is. Like, it's an amazing thing for me. It's always been music for me. It's always been dance, really.
Absolutely. I
So
can relate to that too. I love both of those things also. And um, Speaking of which, I have to say, you know I said that, like, what's your final words? But here we are. I know you and I can talk forever too. So,
Yeah, we're both talkers.
yeah, but the past like 3 weeks, I actually started college as a music major. I wanted to do music therapy, how a way to help. Everything always, as long as I was doing something to help. But um, I love to sing. I love to dance, and I haven't done either. And I mean, I'll dance, but with quarantine and everything, there hasn't been a lot of going out, and I haven't had a chance to like sing since college. But the last 2, 3 weeks, time and time again, somebody is bringing up singing, somebody bringing up dancing. And then the crazy thing is, I even called my grandma, my great aunt, and they were both like, when's the last time you sang? Like, you need to start singing again. And I'm like, here, spirit is talking through me. And um, I keep thinking in my head, like, I need to do something about this. I need to figure out, like, if it's even singing lessons, like, at least I'm getting out there, and then I don't take action. And here you are again today saying, like, find what brings you passion, what makes you happy, get back to what you love. And you're bringing up song and dance. So I'm like, another sign that I need to do that.
Well,
But
and I actually read right before we got on, humming gets your voice moving again and speaking up for yourself and singing. I can't sing a lick. You know that bad bird in the Little Mermaid that's wow, wow, wow. That's how I said I can't sing. I cannot sing. I'm horrible, but
but it brings you joy. That's what
it brings
matters.
me joy. I'll sing in the shower. I'll sing by myself, but I should not sing in public. But I started humming to even speak my truth
Mm-hmm.
of abuse. So I walked around humming literally for after I was in that saltwater pool with Eliza. I just started humming all the time. And that's how she would make me, she wanted me to bring that feeling up and yell it out. And it sounded like a little,
Mm-hmm.
ah. And she's like, yell. And it was like, ah, and I couldn't get it out. And then when I finally released it, because she made me hum that whole weekend, the last day, I was like barreling out that pain,
Yeah.
just moving it out of my system.
Well,
And
and I
dance
think
does that too. Yeah.
women especially are made to be quiet and to take up less space and just, conform to being a good
Mm-hmm.
wife, daughter, mother. And we tend to just hold everything in. So whether it's our emotions, whether it's the way we truly think, like anything, we tend to hold it in. And I had a very similar experience. My Reiki teacher is from Omaha, Nebraska, also Carolina Sotomayor. She's actually
Yeah.
coming on next week, but
Awesome.
she is awesome. She had me like part of womb healing. I'm just letting it out. Same thing. She's like, go like, ah! And
Ah, good.
yeah, as soon as and I was like, I can't do that. Like, that's fucking nuts. I'm not going to do that. And the first time I did it, I was like, and she's like, no, she was like, let it out. And it took like 3 or 4 times. And then once I finally did it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I've been holding on to since I was God
Yeah.
knows how young. But like, for all my ladies out there, go freaking scream, move your body,
Yes.
scream, like, let it out
Get
of
in the
you.
shower and scream. I tell
Yes.
people all the time, get in the shower and scream and let it wash it away.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple male clients that were vulnerable and working with me, and we had amazing results. And
That's beautiful.
I didn't think that guys were like the ideal client for me. But and so when even in this business class, they tell you when you're forming who your ideal client is. Well, mine aren't men or women. It's anybody who want to spiritually connect to themselves and find themselves. And we all have these gifts, right? Just at different times, different levels, different times on earth, all these things. You're just like you said, you could have been a drug addict in another or an alcoholic. We're all here to teach each other to grow spiritually, right? These levels of spiritual awareness. So I had these male clients were some of my best clients because when they were vulnerable, they were vulnerable. There was no, and it shook me to the core, like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for helping him through this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my most successful stories, he embraced everything we talked about, and he is right. he was doing all these different businesses. And I said, dude, go back to your original one, because that's the one that you're going to thrive in. He's just taken off with it. And his wife was like, thank you, Jesus. So like, that's great. But he's just an amazing person and an amazing practitioner. And I'm like, oh God, I just connected so intimately of helping him through some of these things as a man that he was holding back because of different reasons in his life. But
Right. And there's also, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, I was saying women are made to feel like they can't share their emotions, but men are
yeah,
constantly made to feel that way, and um, made to feel less than or weak if they're sharing their emotions. And I hate that so much. I think, that leads to so many other issues. And
yeah,
I do love that when men are able to step into that power for themselves
exactly.
too, and heal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and it's like ever since last weekend, this quote keeps coming into my mind, and it's like, who am I to decide what is good and bad? Who am I to decide what is wrong and right? And
mm,
um that's even going into, it's crazy that you bring up your ideal client too, because about a month ago I would have said my ideal client is a woman, and I'm geared towards women empowerment. But I had a crazy experience last week. That was the main thing that kept coming through, is like, who am I to decide what is good and bad? Who am I to decide what is right and wrong? And I'm like, well, who am I to decide that I am only here to help heal
women,
women?
right,
Yeah, like
right.
when everybody is deserving of healing and needs access to it. So that's actually something that I've been wanting to do since last week, is rebrand, and not saying that I'm only helping women heal.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to, when you're forming your business, if you are, the best advice I have is to not put yourself in this box, but you can't be too broad either. If
Mm,
you're start on one modality, whether that's crystals or oil or reiki or whatever it is you do. Learn about all of them, because I think they're all intertwined. And I've met some amazing people that I was like, I wish I could remember crystals. I can't remember crystals. People say, which crystal would you use? I don't know. But I did recognize the rose oil, because rose oil obviously opens up a lot of things spiritually. And my shaman would spray rose water on me. I'm like, what is that? It smells beautiful, but what is that for? So um, there's so many different things and beliefs out there, and it really doesn't matter. It just matters how it feels for you.
mm,
And
really.
don't let other people come put you in this box that says, well, you're not as spiritual as me. And no, I'm sorry, I am me. And it may look different. And again, judgment and discernment are huge. And if someone's judging you, then they're judging themselves. They're not in connection with who they truly are, and loving with the whole heart. That's such a hard one, especially when you get burned. And
Mm,
as spiritualists, just keep moving forward, and you learn to move past those things.
yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, Tracy, I just want to be cognizant of time and your time, but I want to thank you so, so much for coming on. I am obsessed with all the topics we just talked about. And
Yeah,
quite
me too.
honestly, I know this podcast episode could be like probably 4 hours long with the two of us.
Yes, that's good.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time today and your knowledge and wisdom. And one more time before we hop off, please let the listeners know about your book, your class, or maybe even just where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, if you go just to my website, www.glowcoachtracy.com, there's a button there where it says services. It takes you right to my Calendly, and you can book any of the services. I do psychic medium, I do angel tarot, oracle readings. I do chakra work. I have workshops coming up. I'm live events at different pop-ups and stuff like that. And also on my website, you can get my book. Click on the link, and it's linked right to Amazon, and you can purchase it. If you're in the Omaha area, I love to sign the books and have them get them right from me. I carry books to my event and stuff. I'm still a beginner, and I'm just learning all the ins and outs of how to get out there. So sharing my name, but I am on Facebook. It's Glow Coach Trace. I do need to tell you before you mentioned singing. I When you were talking, I saw you kind of like not a drum circle. You're not going to drum, but your voice, your voice or something there. And it made me think of Orion in, oh geez, I'm getting a blank. Astara and Orion here in Omaha. Did you ever listen to their musical, go to their musical events? Oh, it's amazing.
I didn't, but
Amazing. If you're ever back in Omaha, they're amazing. I'm gonna have them on one of my retreats one of these times, I swear to you. But she sang in a tar drum, and it just vibrated, and I bought the tar drum because I was like, but I'm like, I sang in it and it was that bird again. But I saw you singing in a group and bringing that. I don't know if that means anything to you, but
no,
that
it
really
does. And
means
honestly, I could cry because you're actually like the third psychic medium that has said that I'm going to do something with my voice. And
yeah,
I guess a part of me thought it's always self-worth too. So part of me was like, well, maybe it's the podcast. Like maybe my voice is nice to listen to. I'm not sure.
it is.
But I never really had the confidence for singing and like sharing it out. So
Yeah. I
it
see
does
it
mean
as
a
small.
it
You'll
does mean
start small. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you.
you're good. It does mean a lot that you say that, because it's like the continued signs. It's like sometimes you have to hear it so many times before you believe
I
it.
used to ask for it 3 times. Tell me 3 times before I believe that this is from spirit. And now I just go, oh, well, that's okay. I don't listen to that no more. But that's how I started, was 3 times I need to hear this.
Oh,
But what
absolutely.
I see is your voice vibrating that brings the people at a level of that that
Consciousness.
that consciousness of vibration, that it just is a magical tool that you have to bring people, that's what I'm seeing. So
I
yeah,
love that. Thank you so
yeah,
much for sharing. But
yeah,
oh, awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Wow, what an amazing, amazing experience. We're so lucky to have Tracy on the show with us today, sharing her knowledge and wisdom and her story, and how cool that she was able to share a message on air for me during the podcast. That was so beautiful. I know we are chit-chatting a lot, so please definitely go check her out at Glow Coach Tracy on Facebook. You can book appointments from there. And also definitely check out her book, Glowing Through the Chakras, and her new course. Woohoo! Happy healing, my friends, and I will see you all next week.